and welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Is the idea of same-sex marriage an urban and elitist concept? Are we close to reworking the very idea of what male and female, man and woman is? All of this is being debated in the Supreme Court of India, and it's all part of the hearing on pleas to legalize same-sex marriage in the country. As the top court hears final arguments on a batch of petitions that seek legalization of same-sex marriages, the Supreme Court today disagreed with the government's viewpoint and said that the government had no data to show that this is an elite concept. The court also said that the state cannot discriminate against an individual on the basis of a characteristic over which they have no control. The Chief Justice of India observed that the innate characteristics counter the urban elitist concept, and it was being called as urban only because more people were confident enough to come out of the closet in cities. The centre in its application had earlier claimed that views presented by petitioners were of a very small minority and that only a competent legislature could decide the issue. But the cat was truly set among the pigeons when the Chief Justice on Tuesday said that there is no absolute concept of what a man or woman is and that gender is far more complex than one's genitals. First, listen in to the exchange that took place in court.
A relationship between a biological male and a biological female, including special marriages.
But Mr. Solicitor,
Number one,
there's a very important value judgment which you are making, that the very notion of a biological man is absolute, or that a notion of a biological woman is also an absolute notion.
Never change.
Which is incorrect.
Biological man means biological man. It's not a question of notion.
Possibilities of rights.
Yes, of course it is.
None of us.
There is no absolute concept of a man or an absolute concept of a woman at all. That's the argument in a broader concept.
Biological man, my lord, means man only. It means, my lord, biological man. It's not a matter of
definition of what your genitals are. It's far more complex. That's the point.
We stop having rights if we are not a biological.
So even when the Special Marriage Act says man and woman, the very notion of a man and a notion of a woman is not an absolute. Based on what genitals you have.
Lord, biological man means genitals you have. Lord, I didn't want to use that expression. But your lordships will have to examine whether marriage is a fundamental right. Right to marry, divorce the law is a fundamental.
This again brings us to the questions which are being hotly debated now. Is India ready for a rewriting of the very idea of gender altogether? Or is this argument complicating the most simple plea of making same-sex marriage legal? Is there any substance to the argument that same-sex marriage is an elite urban concept? And what comes first, legal reform or social acceptance?
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Shashank Shekhar Jha, lawyer, Anurag Naidu, author, Aditi Anand, petitioner, Akash K. Agarwal, accessory designer. First, let me start with you, Aditi Anand. What do you make of the argument? Because most people disagree at this point when the Chief Justice said that the very idea of male and female cannot be decided by your genitals. How is that?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Look, I think the Chief Justice has made an extremely enlightened comment, and I think is reflecting what is the reality of the world today. The idea of the idea of gender being absolute is an extremely antiquated idea. Gender roles have evolved massively over time, and I think particularly the last decade, has been a very rich debate of what it is, of what gender means to us, in a sense of how we identify with that, and we identify our place in relationships, in society, in the world, and so on and so forth. I think that this is a discussion that should be laid to rest. I'm surprised that this discussion is happening in the highest court of the world's biggest democracy. Gender is not absolute. I think that this is settled. I don't have very much more to say about it, except to say that surely it's time for the government to catch up.
Shashank Shekhar Jha? What is your apprehension about this argument?
आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Can you hear me now? What is your apprehension about the argument that gender is a fluid concept?
नहीं, zero हो गया.
Okay, Anurag Naidu, can you take that?
Well, absolutely not, yeah. Come on, gender, we've always, even if you start thousands years back, time immemorial, on the gods and goddesses and the religious personalities that we've always been worshipping or following, we've always had differentiation between a male and a female. And that is the whole basis of the society that we live in. Because certain things that have changed in the Western society or maybe on the urbanized clusters, and that is what has been the argument of the union government. And that does not mean that it is a generalized phenomena which has to be deemed to be accepted in normal sense, and we should start celebrating that. Of course, if 10 of the people respect or have a different view, we all respect that, but 90 others may be having a different view. So you have to respect that as well. So like the government has always been putting out for that, a marriage between two biologically opposite sex, it can be considered as a true marriage. But, if you still want to live with your partner, have a same-sex marriage, then by all means you're welcome. But why do you want to push it on the society and corner the government for your own, whatever interest that you have? With all due respect, we can stay in the society wherever you are in your bedrooms, wherever people want to, whatever rights or whatever opinions people want to express, let them be free. It is, of course, I totally support the union government stand that it is an urbanized concept, and all the people who have been going to the court are on the screens, Padmaja, they all represent urban societies, don't they?
I don't know. Anurag Naidu, while yes, the petitioners, according to you, might be elite, but there are many people who don't come out of the closet. Just because you don't see them in the Supreme Court, just because you don't hear them, doesn't mean that they aren't gay, that they don't exist.
Equally, just because we don't see them, we don't hear them, should we not wait for them to come up? Should we not go and do stories from the urban, for the rural clusters of India and find examples before putting a narrative on a very, imaginary sense? It isn't an imaginary.
But how are they imaginary? You're saying we should wait for them to come out. Why are you expecting them to come out when half of the population is calling them perverts or, deviants? When they don't have the right to get married, why should they come out?
Padmaja, today we are
Isn't it a little unfair that you put on them the burden to first come out for you to accept them? Why can't it be the other way around? Accept, and then they'll get the courage to come out.
I'm making it very simple. Whether it is,
would you be okay with say admitting that I wear spectacles if I was to make a blanket statement in society one day and say, I think men who wear glasses are all perverts?
But why should I make a blanket statement that there are people who, beyond my imagination, why should I say that unless I don't have an example? The names that I'm taking, whether it is Menga Guruswamy, whether it is Abhijit Mitra, these are the names that I'm taking. Come on. They have expressed their opinion. So you take a couple of more names and then we can have a debate. You cannot just say randomly, there might be people somewhere in South India, there might be people somewhere in Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh. Why should I buy that argument? Let there be people coming out. Maybe let's have more examples before debating it. We cannot just compare.
How many examples do you think need to come out in public for people to be okay with saying that this is not an elitist concept and quote-unquote regular people are also gay?
They will come out, Padmaja, when there is a need for it to be generalized. Today there is no need for it to be a gender. That's why people are not come. People do come out when they are poverty. People do come out when their basic needs are not met against the government. People will come out when their personal needs are not met. So if they have not come out, that means you don't have enough cluster or the people of, a sizable amount of people to say that, come on, we need this to happen. But just because we have few people in the urbanized cluster who have access to media, who have access to the elite lawyers, who have, they pay millions to the lawyers, there are people who have access to the other social media platforms. When we say only their voice do not represent the voice of 140 million crore Indians.
Okay, Akash Agarwal, people like you, people like Aditi Anand are elite. So you are putting your elite, very specific needs as some human right.
I should say, Anurag, that thank you for telling us that you're phobic to people being progressive as well now. that if a person gets out from his rural district, achieve education on his or her own, gets a strata in society, you become phobic to them also. You're phobic to progress of rural people as well. I come from Delhi 6. दिल्ली से चांदनी चौक के मोहल्ले की पैदाइश हूँ मैं, ठीक है, एक घर में 20 साल गुजारा है, अपने दम पे अपना नाम बनाया है, because I believed in who I am and I never took the shit given to me through people like many who are homophobic. You know, it is not an urban elitist concept. There are many petitioners who are coming from rural backgrounds as well. It is for them to cross-check. It's very easy for you to call out people asking for their rights to be urban elitists or urban nexals. That's a given from your end. That is not even a valuable point at our end. To coming to the point when they refer gods, I think you should not. You have not practiced your religion very well, my dear, because if you're denying Ardhanarishwar, if you're denying Mohini Rupa of the Vishnu, if you're denying the association of Vishnu and Shiva and Ayappa, then I don't know which Hindu practicing religion are you from. Because we have context of people getting together. Why don't we all go to Khajuraho for once? I think the government of India should take their so-called representative to Khajuraho to even check who we are and where are we leading from. You know, do not deny us our space by telling us we are urbans. We are Indians, and that is what it is all about.
So, Shashank Shekhar Jha, you already have the example of Akash here. Let me actually quote you another example of a man whose name is Vasudhendra. He is from Karnataka. He is a writer, and he actually spoke of how it took him 40 years to come out, because he says that's what social stigma prevalent in rural areas of Karnataka around homosexuality did to me. Thankfully, at least I had my writing to express myself. Gay experience in rural India is very different from urban India, where even now homosexuality is taboo, which is why for the longest time I could not talk about it. So Vasudhendra existed in rural Karnataka. It's just that he couldn't speak out. He's not urban, he's not elite, he was just silenced and shamed.
Namaste Padmaja ji and every other fellow panelist. Padmaja ji, see, I agree that there was discriminations, and that is why to remove that discrimination, you removed the section 377 from IPC. You decriminalized that and you allowed people from every specific likings to come out in open. But you cannot expect that that particular judgment can give you a right to have a social, civil, married life with any as equivalent to that of heterosexuals. See, here you approach the Supreme Court seeking a particular right in a already ongoing civilizational rituals. Can you do that? No, I don't think that you can do that. All those marriage laws in India are derived from social norms, etc., which is also coming from religion and culture, etc. So when you are asking that there should be homosexual married as similar to heterosexuals, I guess the entire notion is wrong. And as far as Ardhanarishwar is concerned, or for that one other Hindu epics are concerned, you need to understand that when Vishnuji took the shape of Mohini, he actually went from a male to a female to have another child of him from Mahadev. So you cannot say that you have a concept and you should have this. So no, you should please not disturb me. Please don't disturb me. This is not the way. This is not the way.
You cannot.
This is not the way. This is not the way.
Okay, just a second. Let Akash quickly respond to you, then I'll bring in Aditi. Yes, Akash. Yes, go on.
That is what transition is all about, Padmaja. That a deity like Vishnu can transition into Mohini. And that's what transition is all about. That we transition from one to other. And you know, I'm sorry I'm taking up 1 minute of time, but let me ask everybody in this room that who assigned my gender or my sex to me? Who assigned my name to me? Was it a choice given to me? No. You said I'm a biological male. You said I'm Akash. I, at 14, at 16, when I realized who I am, when I started feeling in my senses who I wish to be, I became who I wanted to be. And it's very simple to understand.
Okay, Shashank.
Padmaja ji, this is so weird. I'm saying that by this logic, with all due respect to Honorable CGI, he has done more injustice to this cause rather than doing justice. If you are saying that gender is so fluid to have a proper heterosexual or homosexual concept altogether, then you are defying all the concepts of norms and societal and the legal system of this country. Then you need to say that, okay, I am voiding all the laws in this country and we need to have a new separate law. You cannot make homosexual laws in a heterosexual system already existing in place. And even if that is happening, that is for the parliament to deal with, and because it is in concurrent list, even state and UT has power to do that. You know, Supreme Court's CGI saying something which is already in dispute in Western society, I don't think that will help our society at any way.
Okay, Aditi, what do you make of this argument that society right now is not ready? Let slowly social acceptability come, then the law can come later. Law can follow.
If you don't mind, could I just quickly address some of the points that were brought up by the speaker just before me?
Yes, go on.
You know, I just want to say that this feels a little bit like we're going back to the infamous minuscule minority kind of argument. That just because people belong to a certain, or just because we believe people belong to a certain kind of group, therefore they should not be given their rights. Frankly, the government has accepted the fact that there are LGBTQI people all across the country. This has been in various judgments and also in what the Solicitor General himself has spoken, and also some of the speakers on this panel have said, hey, we understand that there are people who are queer. It's just that they should stay in their lane. What kind of dignity is that? Essentially, you're saying that the reason that this is an urban elite concept is because those are the voices that are speaking the loudest. Let me come from a very personal point of view on this. I'm a very, very private person. My partner and I have fought very hard for the last 10 years to build a life for ourselves. And we put it on the line by becoming a part of this petition. One of the reasons for that is that we were very lucky that we had the opportunities or like the equality of opportunities to be able to build that life. Many people don't have that. The majority of people in this country do not have that. And you don't have to go far. Please look at the list of petitioners. Please read their petitions and please see their stories. Just within this microcosm of the community, you will see that this is anything but an urban elite concept. And in any case, the pejorative way in which urban is used, what is urban? Our parents and grandparents and lakhs of people like them move to the cities in order to struggle and make a life and make the best life for their children. That's what we want to do for our children as well. How is it that you can use that term pejoratively at all?
Again, absolutely. So, you know, Anurag Naidu, a lot of times we see what appears to us on television. So you will see an Arundhati Kajju, you will see a Menaka Guruswamy. I will personally tell you of 20 years back in 2005, I met somebody who was an engineer in the BSES in Delhi. And it was a grade C, grade 3 engineer. And it was a lady. And she identified as male. And it was way back, it was 20 years ago, but that person was absolutely certain that she wanted to be with a woman. She certainly wasn't elite. She certainly wasn't very urbane.
Well, I think, look, I mean, Padmaja, it's about the personal preferences. Somebody in the panel said, you know, if my preferences are such or my preferences is so, I mean, whose fault is it? And it's nobody's fault. And let me be very honest to them. You know, with all due respect on whatever preferences you have, there is no problem with that. The point here is, if you want to generalize and say, this is how the society is, this is how the world should be, and we want to promote this even more.
No, to be fair, I don't think they're saying this is how society is. They're saying this is how I am. And I want the right to get married. Nobody's saying society is gay. They're saying I am gay, I am a homosexual, I want to get married to my partner.
So at this point in time, Padmaja, the marriage as an institution in India, and that's what also one of the contentions from the petition from the government side. And the marriages in India, unfortunately, are not a solo ceremony. They are a public ceremony.
So let me actually quote to you something that Mukul Rohatgi said vis-a-vis marriage. Marriage also has many shades, right? He quoted the example of widow remarriage, which when it was brought in law, then societal acceptance followed. For the longest time, it was unthinkable that widows would get remarried in our country. But it happened. Marriage was supposed to be between two unmarried people. Now widows get remarried.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. So even for the same-sex marriage, even after striking down on Section 377, I think we still have some time when we reach there.
What is the cutoff for that time? I've always wondered, what is the cutoff? Because through the day I've been told, let's wait for more people to come out. Let's wait for the time when we are ready for it. So is there like a a strategy where you say 1,300,000 people have to come out for us to say now we are ready? Or in the year 2025, we will say that now is the time.
Padmaja, can you tell me when is the cutoff time for doing away with the reservations? No, right? Even if we have a 10-year period, it is a timely calibration of...
Actually, Baba Saheb Ambedkar had put a cutoff. He had said 10 years after independence, we should cut it off. And which is why we are actively debating that now. I'm all for bringing in a legislation. Had there not been politics about it, we would have done away with it. In the present case though, I think Akash wants to come in, but in the present case though, here are people who are being denied their rights because we are saying we are not ready. Now, I might not be ready to give taxes, but that doesn't stop me from giving it. It's the law. I have to pay taxes. I may not be ready, but I pay it.
समय आता नहीं है, समय लाया जाता है. ये समय आ गया है. जब Section 377 की scrapping हुई, at that time also the community, society at large was not ready for it. To all my co-panelists who are saying me with a lot of respect today and say we respect you and your feelings, can be the same panelists or same ideologies who used to say we do not understand who you are and you cannot even exist. So we have moved from that television debate where people used to hound us by saying you're even an illegal citizen and you cannot even exist, to a change where we say, okay, we respect who you are because there's a law in place, understand. Not because they have become empathetic to us, because there's a law in place which decriminalizes us, give us the power and respect we always have to have. And that is why law like these needed to be given. The society would never be ready. It is not about them getting ready, it is about us. Hamara samay ja raha hai. How many generations do they want to die in dust?
Yeah, Shashank Shekhar Jha, simple example, the only other Hindu country or Hindu majority country in the world is Nepal. Nepal Supreme Court has legalized same-sex marriage. अगर उनके कल्चर में, उनकी कंट्री में, वो भी हिंदू कंट्री हैं, सेम-सेक्स मैरिज हो सकती है, इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो सकती?
पद्मजा जी, मुझे 2 मिनट दीजिएगा. पहली बात, भारत एक ऐसा राष्ट्र है जहां पे पर्सनल लॉज बहुत सारे हैं. आपके पास आज तक यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के लिए एक प्रॉपर नहीं आया. सेम सेक्स का सेम एज आपने डिसाइड नहीं कर पाया. आप कैसे करेंगे सेम सेक्स मैरिज की बात? दूसरी बात, क्या जुडिशरी ये काम कर सकती है? क्या जुडिशरी के अधिकार क्षेत्र में है? तीसरी बात, आर्टिकल 14, आर्टिकल 15, आर्टिकल 19, आर्टिकल 21 के तहत और 377 को हटाया गया था. नवतोज और पुट्टू स्वामी की जजमेंट में कहा गया कि कोई भी डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं किया जाएगा. लेकिन क्या उस जजमेंट के आधार पर आप एक नया अधिकार मांग सकते हैं? मुझे नहीं लगता ये कर सकते हैं. चौथी बात, क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट बिना राज्यों को सुने हुए, बिना यूनियन टेरिटरी को सुने हुए ऐसा कार्य कर सकता है? और पांचवी बात, शादी क्यों होती है, विवाह क्यों होता है? विवाह का जो मेन मकसद होता है वो होता है कि आप अपने दायित्व को निभाएं, प्रोक्रिएशन को सही तरीके से करें, बच्चों के राइट्स की बात करें. क्या आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट में ये कर देगा तो क्या बच्चों के राइट्स का क्या होगा? कौन डिसाइड करेगा उसको? मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे राष्ट्र में जहां 140 करोड़ पॉपुलेशन है, जहां पे 75 टाइप के लोग रहते हैं, सब अलग अलग कम्युनिटी, अलग अलग मान्यता के हिसाब से रहते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है पार्लियामेंट ही एकमात्र है जो एक्चुअली लोगों को रिप्रेजेंट करता है. 545 लोग लोकसभा में, 250 लोग राज्यसभा में. मुझे नहीं लगता कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 5 जजेस और दोनों साइड के 5-5 वकील इस बात को समझ पाएंगे. और
So एक second, Shashank, uniform civil code and same-sex marriage don't have to be mutually exclusive. While yes, uniform civil code is a very valid demand as well, that there should be one law equally applicable, same age of marriage equally applicable. That's a fair demand, and that is a parallel debate that's going on. But that should not preclude another parallel demand of same-sex marriage.
But it has come already.
You know,
But it has come already. No, but Supreme Court has categorically stated कि हम पर्सनल लॉज में नहीं एंटर करेंगे. हम अगर पर्सनल लॉज में एंटर नहीं करेंगे और स्पेशल मैरिज इंडिया में गिन के 0.05% से भी कम लोग रजिस्टर करते हैं, तो किसके लिए हो रहा है ये डिबेट? किसके लिए आप कर रहे हैं? हम विरोध कर रहे हैं.
Is there a hypocrisy of sorts over there? Just a second, Akash. Is there a hypocrisy of sorts over there that while personal laws are left untouched, many of which are discriminatory and anti-women, but this is being actively debated?
This is where I'd like to start from, which is that to everybody who is making, to the government and the interveners and everyone who's speaking against equal marriage, nobody is actually saying that we are not denying your rights. People are saying, yes, we are denying your rights. However, we are denying your rights because society is not ready for it. Is it beholden upon queer people to educate the people around us and to pull society forward into an enlightened future? As they say, famously it is said that justice delayed is justice denied. So how long do I have to wait to be able to have that dignity with my partner, to be able to open bank accounts together, have insurance together, if something happens to her, to be able to be her next of kin, to be able to adopt children together? How long do I have to wait? Why do I have to wait for everybody else to be ready? That is not how fundamental rights work. And
adoption is not about couple. Adoption is about the child.
Okay, let me answer that question also, boss. The answer to that question is very simple. Everybody is saying that there is going to be a psychological damage to children of same-sex parents. I have a very simple question to you for that, and I'd like you to answer it. This is based on the idea that a child needs to have a father figure and a mother figure in their lives. Am I right? What about the case of orphans who have neither father nor mother in their lives? You're denying the right of that child to have a happy home.
I will respond.
Let me finish, please. You are denying that child the right to a happy home where they have the equality of education, equality of opportunity, they have a safe home, and they have two parents who lovingly look after that child. There is absolutely no merit based on no data that has been furnished by anyone that there is the psychological damage that happens.
गलत डेटा है भारत में.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. I did not interrupt you even one single time.
Okay, wait, I'll just come to you, Shashank. Yes. Go on, finish your point, please. Yes.
The psychological damage that does happens because of what society does to queer families. It is beholden upon you and society at large to stop that level of discrimination. The psychological damage isn't what same-sex or queer parents do to their children.
And again, even if we leave out same-sex marriages and adoption, Shashank, the idea of heterosexual marriage also is very different now. अब आपकी single mothers हैं, सिंगल पेरेंट्स हैं, तो आप फिर ये भी कहेंगे कि अगर ट्रेडिशनल जो फैमिली था जिसमें फादर मदर बच्चे होते हैं, अगर वो ट्रेडिशनल फैमिली नहीं है तो बच्चे स्कार्ड हैं और मैरिज बेकार है. बट द पॉइंट इज दैट यहां पर कोई सिंगल मदर भी होगी, कोई सिंगल फादर भी होगा, उनके बच्चे भी होंगे. आर वी देन सेइंग कि ये आपकी फैमिली नहीं है, आपकी भी फैमिली बेकार है?
पद्मजा जी, दो बातें हैं और बहुत क्लियर स्पष्ट होनी चाहिए. पहली बात, अगर ये कह रहे हैं कि चाइल्ड राइट्स के खिलाफ कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा और चाइल्ड वेलफेयर में हो रहा है, तो इनको खुद डेटा लाना चाहिए. इफ यू आर सीकिंग सम काइंड ऑफ राइट्स, सो यू शुड शो दैट हाउ यू आर कैपेबल फॉर दैट. क्योंकि चाइल्ड राइट कमीशन ने स्पष्ट कहा है कि आज जो भी कानून भारत में वो चाइल्ड के प्रोटेक्शन और वेलफेयर के लिए. कहां जाएगा वो कानून? अभी मेंटेनेंस की बात होती है बच्चे की, या बच्चे के कस्टडी की बात होती है, या बच्चे के माता और पिता के दोनों के प्रतित्व की बात होती है, मातृत्व की बात होती है, तो वो कैसे डिसाइड होगा? दूसरी बात कि आज भारत में मोहम्मद लॉ
अडॉप्ट करना अलाउड ही नहीं है, तो वो डेटा किधर से ले आएंगे कि बच्चे खुश है कि नहीं? बच्चों का अडॉप्शन ही अलाउड नहीं है, तो डेटा किधर से आएगा?
आई विल टेल यू, मैं बता रहा हूं, मैं बताता हूं. उसमें भी देखिए, पर्सनल लॉ सुप्रीम कोर्ट जा नहीं रहा है। बचा स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट का ऑब्जेक्टिव ही है बच्चा पैदा करना, इज वन ऑफ द 3 कॉन्सेप्ट्स। तो अगर वो कॉन्सेप्ट है तो उस हिसाब से भी आप स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट में नहीं कर सकते। तो मैं तो बस यही कह रहा हूं कि जिस लॉ के अंदर में आप इस डिक्लेरेशन और रिकॉग्निशन की बात कर रहे हैं, वो लॉ इनकॉम्पिटेंट है आपकी राइट्स के लिए। अगर आपको करना है तो आपको नए लॉज चाहिए, नए राइट्स चाहिए, और उसका अधिकार क्षेत्र सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट का है। मेरी पूरी सहानुभूति है एलजीबीटी कम्युनिटी के साथ, लेकिन क्या सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अधिकार क्षेत्र में है? आंसर है नहीं। और इसीलिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट आज पर्सनल लॉज में नहीं जा रहा है, और मेरा मानना है स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट में भी नहीं जा सकता, क्योंकि अगर वो गया तो कम से कम 10 और लॉज वायलेट हो जाएंगे। एग्जांपल में आप विजिटेशन राइट्स कैसे करिएगा, इनहेरिटेंस कैसे करिएगा, एडॉप्शन कैसे करिएगा? बहुत सारे शादी रिलीजन में तो एडॉप्शन अलाउड भी नहीं है, कैसे मैनेज करिएगा उसको? जो जेंडर स्पेसिफिक लॉज है उसका कैसे आप मैनेज करिएगा? तो मेरा मानना है कि अगर जिस देश में आपने आज तक 15 साल से ऊपर में शादियां हो जाती हैं एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी में, उस देश में आप सेम सेक्स मैरिज की बात और डिमांड कर रहे हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट, और ये कुछ भी नहीं है, मिसगाइडेड एक तरीका है आप अपने बात मनवाने का।
Okay, final word, Akash. Is this
Shashank mentioned 3 points which I want to discuss about.
Yeah.
First, the role of the parliament. If the parliament was that active in decision making, they could have given women equal 50% reservations way long. We cannot trust a parliament who's not even giving women their equal right of participation in the parliamentary process. Second, they got in the idea of procreation. Sir, we are the most largest populated country in the world. You still want more bags and babies? You can't even give a infrastructure, health, medical, financial support to the living kids right here in this country, and you expect us to trust on this system to have just procreation and procreation? The idea is to let people who are living as of now, to give them a respectful, dignified life. Third, when you say a couple can only be the way a male and a female, so-called biological male and female is the only way to have a marriage, then what about women who can't conceive or men who cannot co-conceive? Are you going to witch hunt and hound them as well and say that you're not worth it? What kind of a psychological argument is this? So if a woman who can't conceive or a man who cannot be a provider in that process, if they have a right to have a child because they are looking forward earningly to have a child in the life, why can't we? I would just end by saying one thing, Padmaja. It is not about my right to marriage. It is about my right to have a choice to marry or not to marry. I'm not going to be marrying someone, but give me the choice which is under the preambulum given to me. Do not deny me that.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Always remember that we are a constantly evolving, changing society. Our needs, our choices are also constantly evolving and changing. And so should our laws to accommodate and ensure that every single person in this evolving society of ours feels equally included, equally needed, and equally cherished. Just to say that we are not ready is not an excuse to make somebody else be denied of their rights. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll keep a close track of what happens in the Supreme Court. Elitist or not, everyone has rights. Thanks for joining me, all gentlemen, and Aditi Anand.